Okay, well, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I see some new faces, and it's always nice seeing new faces in the group. And so, big welcome to you. I know it's a lot being on this path and maybe showing up to a new group, but it's so important that you don't walk this path alone. It's good to have some friends, a teacher, a guide, a sangha to be with. I was with some new faces this week just in my sessions, and a lot of folks were just really struggling on their own and feeling lost and losing faith. And this is a good place to be. This is a good place to be. Okay, so a couple things. The first is we have a retreat coming up February 7th through the 9th. And I know Kundalini people always have this question like, should I be practicing? Should I be doing meditation? Should um, I would be going on retreats. And, when you are with a true teacher, a teacher who is helpful and supporting you in awakening and supporting you in healing and helping to move your energy along, and I'm going to say yes, it's good to go on retreat. I went on just constant retreats. I was just always signing up for the next one. And for me, it was big part of my awakening practice, my awakening experience, rather. I guess retreat is awakening practice. Okay. So I say yes. Now, if the question is, should I go to a shaman or should I do ayahuasca? Should I do pranayama breathing and all these types of things that tend to really stir up the energy? My response is normally no. And so it's a fine line to walk that this energy has woken up within us. It's driving forward and it has an aim, it has a goal, and that is for you to fully awaken and for you to integrate this energy and be able to manifest your divine gifts here on planet Earth. And so retreat time is definitely going to support you in that. But with Kundalini, often the teaching is it might get a little bit worse or it might intensify before it gets better. But there's good intensity and there's bad intensity. So a good intensity is just like slow, steady progress on the path where we keep showing up and we're opening to God, we're opening to grace, we're opening to this energy, we're doing our healing work. And again, when you do that with a true teacher, that can be really helpful. Yeah, like I don't know where I would be without my teacher. I might still be curled up in the fetal position, wanting to pull my hair out, saying, "Oh my God, there's so much energy and pressure here, and I don't know what to do with it." Now, David Morris sent me this lovely email earlier. I think it was earlier today, just asking me, like basically what was my experience like? And a lot of people have been asking me, like, Craig, what's your experience? What was your experience with Kundalini, with the awakening and the difficulty? Right now, of course, it's all stabilized. So my experience is wondrous. It's an experience of vast peace and spaciousness in the mind and radiance and love, overwhelming sense of unity in the heart, and throughout the body, there's just this feeling of Buddha nature that this thing cannot be destroyed. This recognition that I am all of life. And I don't like to talk about that too much because it comes off sounding, like that could be a little bit out there for some folks, but that's what it's like. It's quite incredible. But I can say, David, maybe I'll just read his question so I can get grounded with it. He writes, is there a way to hasten the journey to awakening without being in crisis of pain? The back question is, was there a way that you, me, that's Craig, could have hastened your own progress? The possibility seems dubious because you were so continuously in the presence of your guru. I'm asking this knowing that there is a wrong way to proceed. There is a way to make this journey last longer and be more difficult. And so, so that's a funny kind of way of asking the question, but I'll just roll with it. So there was a lot of things that I had that were wrong within me. So I had great teachers. Like my primary teacher was my teacher, David, who I spent like 2 decades with, and I apprenticed with him. So I was with him all the time. And then I also had, guidance from Adyashanti and some, different non-dual teachers of who are teaching in the modern age here. So I had all kinds of great support from my teachers. But the things that I had in me that created so much difficulty was I had unconscious resistance in my physical body. And there's a lot of things that I could have done differently so I didn't suffer so greatly. And, one of the problems that I had was that I inherited a body, like the body of my father, of an alcoholic and an orphan. And so that's like, I didn't receive the best epigenetics in this lifetime. I didn't receive the best nature, the DNA like that was in my body. And I didn't receive the best nurture. Now, listen, I had a great mother, but I still have a great mother, but my father, he was, a real difficult individual. And my body walked around with all this fear in it. And, I still, like, it's still my growing edge, is helping the physical body to relax. And so David's question was, is there a way to make this path, quicker and without pain? The number one way is to have a deeply relaxed body. When our body is relaxed, energy can flow and things go much more smoothly. When the body is not relaxed and you have a freight train of light waking up in your spine and trying to flow up the spine and out the top of the head, and your body is fighting with it, well, that's going to create a war. And, I can tell you that I had a great war in my body. I didn't have a war in my mind because my mind was really clear and open and trusting. I didn't have such a war in my emotional nature, but there was an aspect of my physicality. All of us have a physicality, and our physicality has a mind to it and it has an emotional nature to it. And the physicality of my body was stuck in a chronic state of fear. And I had fear of authority. I had fear of basically anything bigger than me. Now, for someone who's on the path and who's wanting to wake up to God, and waking up to grace and wanting to receive, the greatest force in the universe, there's going to be a massive problem here if our body is constantly saying no. So my mind was saying yes. My emotional nature was, like, my spiritual emotional nature was saying yes, but my human physical nature was saying no. And this created great difficulty within me, even though I had a guru, I had guru's grace, I had, this great teacher, a master being who was guiding me. But I had a body that needed to be taught to relax and to let go. And for most of us on this journey of spiritual awakening, we get to a point where we find that there's something in our body. And sometimes it's a place in the mind where there's something that we will not let go of. Like, another thing that I was unwilling to let go of were my children. And rightly so. Like, I couldn't let go of my children. They're my children. I love them. I want to be their father. I've always been their father. But I had a new family, and it was a family that came about under really difficult, stressful circumstances. The relationship wasn't a good, healthy relationship. And so here I had this physical body that was, afraid of authority and was just resisting everything. I had a difficult relationship and I had tremendous resistance in my relationship. I was also going to graduate school. I was also broke, like ridiculously poor and broke. And I was doing hard physical labor working for my teacher. So my back was not in a state of relaxed, yogic flow. I wasn't just hanging out with my teacher all day doing yoga. We were meditators. So we spent a lot of time in meditation, but then we also spent a lot of time physically working. And I was basically building a retreat center for my teacher and for his community and building gardens. So I was always working a shovel. And so like these things all together didn't make, and then going through a divorce and going to graduate school. When I look back and I say all these things, it just seems insane what I was attempting to do, because I was trying to be the best student ever to my teacher. I was trying to wake up to God and to freedom and, non-dual enlightenment. I was going on countless retreats. I was trying to raise, a family. The family wasn't working out. I was going through a divorce. I worked in the spiritual traditions, and a lot of times spiritual traditions don't have a lot of money. So I was broke. At one point, I tried to remodel my house under all this mess. Like I was just trying to find a stable home so I didn't end up homeless. And if you just put all these things together, the point being here is I had a lot of mental and emotional and then physical pressure just associated with life. And so, one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves on the path of Kundalini Awakening is lots of time and lots of space doing nothing. Doing nothing. And what is doing nothing? I mean, basically, it means laying around, and maybe sitting around in a state of meditation, doing lots of yoga. Like when I did yoga and meditation, of course, the energy was moving and I felt ecstatic and felt wonderful. But pretty much, most of the other time, like as soon as I was done meditating or done doing yoga, I would immediately pick up, all of my stress again. And when you pick up stress and you have a freight train of light trying to flow through your body, that these are going to be two opposing forces. And it created a terrible situation for my awakening. Now, many of you say, well, Craig, it sounds like a great situation. You were with a teacher, he was your boss, you apprenticed under him. That part was great. That was excellent. But everything else in my life was wrong. Everything else was wrong in my outward life, in my relational life, in my financial life, in my, I wasn't honoring the earth. I didn't have, the thing we say here in the United States, I didn't have my ducks in a row. Like there was no row here. I just had a mess with me everywhere I went. But the thing I did have on my side was I was dedicated and I kept showing up. And that's why eventually, through God's grace, I made it to the other side of this. But, the resistance in my body and the stress that I had created all of these difficulties in my human experience. And so David asked, well, what can we do, to have a path without pain? Well, we always have to look at, if we do have pain, where is our pain coming from? Is it psychological turmoil because we're involved in a toxic relationship or multiple toxic relationships? Or are we holding on to toxic relationships with our family of origin, mom and dad, or something from the past? Or have we been involved in cycles of abuse and this type of thing? And if that's the case, then we need to go to therapy. We need to do our psychological healing work so we can empty out and heal, release that pain, and work with forgiveness and letting go. And when we do that, then the energy can flow through that center without a difficulty. Now, of course, psychological pain is going to be both mental and emotional. And so we must do that type of work. And I did. It took a long time. It was hard work, but I did family therapy, individual therapy, somatic therapy, breath work therapy, massage therapy. So it's like chiropractic therapy, craniosacral therapy, acupuncture therapy. And so in all these different ways where my human life was all gunked up and out of alignment and out of truth, I had to spend many years working to bring it into alignment. Now, there's this funny thing that happens. When you bring your life into alignment, mental, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, Oftentimes, if we do that, the chakras simply open and Kundalini flows. And then we have an experience like, some people talk about of just like, I sat down one night in meditation and the Kundalini Shakti flowed all the way through all 7 chakra centers. And I feel bliss and freedom. And I woke up to my nondual nature. And hello, everyone. My name is Eckhart Tolle or whoever. And even Eckhart didn't have it that easy. He had some difficulty himself. But the bottom line here is when our life is clear, when we're living in alignment with truth, our path is going to be much easier than if we live out of alignment with truth. Now, the number one thing that I see people get stuck in on this path of Kundalini, because Kundalini is so intense, because it's so overwhelming, is I see a lot of people getting stuck in victimhood. And let me tell you, I was the king of victimhood, of victim nature. Like I had my seat on my throne there. Like I was a master being a victim. I mean, not really, but like it was just, I had all the levels of it down. I had, the poverty consciousness and the enormous amounts of debt. I had, poor epigenetics that I received from my father, just like I had a body again that was like an abused orphan. Um, I had toxic relationships, just everything. I was betrayed on so many levels from, just poor friendships and relationships and bad business deals. Just as like I went through hell on so many levels. And I really kind of hunkered down and being a victim, saying, this isn't fair, this isn't right. But then, you know, 40 hours a week or so, sometimes 50 or 60 hours a week, I'd be with my teacher. And when I was with my teacher, I couldn't be a victim. He didn't believe in me as a victim. He believed in me as a victor, as this bright being of light. And so when I was in his company, I had this opposite experience, and the energy would be flowing. I'd be full of light and love. And then he'd send me out in the yard to work a shovel. And then I'd clamp down and I would resist. And my body would fight and it'd get, just overworked, being in the hot sun or shoveling snow. And then, my body would start to like slowly go into this sense of shutdown. And then, my teacher would come out and check on me, and, my body would slowly open up again. But it was really hard for me to work with this body. And again, even to this day, I practice yoga all the time, and I still have a body that's still pretty tense, or maybe tense is the wrong word. It's just pretty tight. It just has a lack of flexibility. And so, and then of course, I did other things too, is like, sometimes to blow off steam, I'd get on a skateboard, and that's not really good for the body because I was always hitting my head and body on the concrete, or, I'd fly through the air on a snowboard and, just do flips like a rag doll when I would wreck. And it's like I would do things that weren't good for my body. I like to ride a mountain bike, and I'm a real physical guy, and I'd chop my own wood and all that stuff. And so I did a lot of things that, where I wasn't living, let's say, a yogic lifestyle. Even though, I was with, this great yogic master, there's a lot of things I did that just did not help. And with this process of Kundalini awakening, we have to be very careful if we're doing things that do not help. Because when we do things that don't help, of course, the pain builds. And then our ego just tends to hunker down in a victim nature of, some people say things like, God is trying to kill me, or I'm being attacked by this or that, or, this energy will never stop. It'll never end. I'll never heal. I've given up. I've tried everything. I hear that one a lot. I've tried everything. And when we've tried everything and, we haven't made it to the other side, well, this is a terrible thing to say, and it sounds a little bit ruthless. We just need to try more. We need to try more. And what does trying look like? Well, sometimes it looks like sitting down in child's pose. That's what trying more looks like. It means like just dropping our forehead to the earth and letting all of it empty out of us. Sometimes trying more means laying on the earth. Sometimes trying more means I'm going to sit down and I'm going to feel this tension in my heart, and I'm going to forgive my mother, father, sister, brother. And so I'm going to invite us all just to close our eyes right now. And, we just heard this story about Craig and, his difficulties. And, I just kind of just scraped the surface about sharing my difficulties, but I want you to feel into your experience and to acknowledge and to breathe into the big roadblocks that you feel within yourself, and breathing into the big roadblocks that you have in life. And let us invite a sense of faith and a sense of love to awaken in our hearts. Let us invite a sense of softening throughout the body. And so in response to David's question here, is like, well, what can we do to make this path easier and pain-free? The primary thing is to help our body, and in turn our mind and our emotional nature to relax, to soften, to open, and to begin to step into more of a yogic, meditative mind space. And so I'm going to invite you just to see whatever your biggest challenge is. And I'm going to invite you to look, to ask, can I let go of this? Can I soften around this? This one thing, or all these little things, or all these big things? If you're like me and had just a collection of disasters in your life, can I soften? And can I choose to breathe? Can I let go of any limiting thoughts in my mind that this energy or this difficulty is unworkable? And can I begin to see that life is fluid? Life is impermanent. And by that I mean it's always moving, it's always changing. Can I see that this too shall pass? This too shall pass, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And like me, I even have right now a difficulty in my life. I got a little girl with a broken leg and all these doctors, and then she got sick this morning. And it's just like, oh no. But this too shall pass. This too. We heal, we grow, we evolve. If we have children, like, our children will grow up. Our children will get through this. They will. Our friends, our family, our partner, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. We'll be all right. And so sometimes we take on extra worry. And with Kundalini Shakti is a big force. And Kundalini Shakti, when it comes into you, Kundalini wants your plate to be empty. Wants your plate to be empty. Wants your bowl to be relaxed. Wants the body to be relaxed and at ease here. And so we just look out at our life, whether it's inner or outer, and just see, are there some things I can take off my plate? Are there some things I can let go of mentally? And let's feel down emotionally. Are there things I can let go of? Limiting beliefs or thoughts, maybe old toxic relationships, or just sometimes our relationships aren't toxic. They're just, we have some people in our life that are unhelpful, or sometimes we are too helpful, to our husband or wife or partner, or we're a parent who just cares too much, or we show up too much at work. And sometimes with Kundalini, we just need to give ourselves a big dose of peace, of silence, of stillness. And can we take anything off our plate? Are there some thoughts that we can let go of? Are there concerns or worries that we can just lift up and give back to God, give back to life, saying, God, you take these. You take these, Lord. You take these. Can we bow before Lord Shiva and trust that this is God's universe, this is Shiva's universe, that God is in charge, that God is the doer? Can we trust that we can sit back and empty out and be nobody, be no thing for a while? So some of us, in this group, we've been a doctor or a lawyer or architect or a mom, a dad. We've been real busy, being a healer or, being a counselor, a coach, whatever it is that we do. And just sometimes Kundalini will ask you to take a break, a big break from all the doing, and to begin to allow the doing just to happen on its own. Whether that's God taking over or someone else in your life taking responsibility, or sometimes God will do these things through you, but in a way which feels effortless. And all of us on this path of Kundalini Awakening can benefit from living more of a yogic lifestyle, a lifestyle of peace, of ease. For some of us, it's simply that we need to slow down. We just need to slow down a little bit in life. Just slow down with all the busyness. Sometimes we try to do too many things. We try to meditate and do yoga and go to the gym and make sure the yard looks just right. And, we have our constant to-do list, and we're on social media arguing about politics. And it's like, it's just time to cut some things loose. Maybe we cut the gym loose, or the arguing online loose, or, always engaging with the neighbors, or, just whatever it is in your life. What is it that you need to cut loose so you can make some more space? Because when there's more space, there's more room for energy to flow. And when there's more room for energy to flow, there's less pain. But when our plate is full, when our life is stressful, there's no room for Kundalini. And you will have a similar experience of what I was describing before with my own self, which is great pain because my plate was full. So we're breathing, we're feeling, we're softening, we're opening, we're actively choosing to let go, choosing to release, choosing to open to space. Any of us have a victim consciousness floating around in there, choosing to let go of being a victim and choosing to remember that we are children of God, and God has chosen to awaken in us, and this is a gift. This is a gift where we are on a path of light, a path of love, a path of awakening. So breathing, feeling, softening, feeling throughout the entirety of the body, and choosing to soften, to relax, to open, and let go. And let go. And so, if you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. But I invite you just to really hear this teaching. This is really the primary teaching of this path. is we must live a relaxed lifestyle. Anytime when we are racing, when we are rushing, that racing and that rushing or the stressing, it causes the chakras to contract, and that makes it difficult for Shakti to flow. And when there's difficulty, well, you know what happens. There's pain in the body, pain in the mind, pain in the heart. So relaxation and peace is the way. And that's the focus of this upcoming retreat, by the way. So anyways,